Hey guys, welcome back to the Rock and Roll Aristocracy. Today we're doing another album review, and the spotlight for today is on Robert Plant's second solo album titled The Principle of Moments. So I'm going to give you a few details on the record itself and the production, the singles, and then we'll go into the track listing and the rankings. So the title, as I said, is The Principle of Moments. It was released by Robert Plant, who was the former singer of Led Zeppelin at that point. It was released the 11th of July, 1983, on both the Esperanza and Atlantic labels. The album clocks in at 38 minutes and 50 seconds, and it was recorded in Rockfield Studios in Monmouth, Wales. The album's producers are Robert Plant, Benji Lefebvre, and Pat Moran. The singles for this album were Big Log, which was released in July of '83, and In the Mood, which was released in November of '83. The album peaked at number 8 on the Billboard Top 200 in the US and at number 7 on the UK Albums Chart. Big Log reached number 20 in the US Billboard Hot 100 and number 11 on the UK Singles Chart. In the Mood reached number 39 in the US and number 81 on the UK singles. But by far the biggest single on the album was never released as a single in preparation for the album's release. It was actually released afterwards. Other Arms, which Plant didn't want to be released as a single, later became the biggest hit on the album, reaching number 1 in the Billboard Top Tracks chart, which was later renamed to the Mainstream Rock chart. On 6 of the 8 songs, Reckless Love and Stranger Here Than Over There are the only exceptions. Phil Collins is the drummer. The Wikipedia article that I found for this album says that, quote, like Plant's first solo album, Pictures at 11, the songs departed from the hard rock sound of Led Zeppelin. But I have to say, it's Robert Plant. People know his voice, and I mean, at least for me personally, listening to these songs, a lot of them sounded like Led Zeppelin B-sides, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, like it has good and bad things about it, but for me, it seemed to be good to like have this voice that I know in some certain contexts be presented in a different way. So we're gonna go into the song rankings now. There were 8 songs on the album. In On the 3rd of April 2007, Rhino Entertainment actually released a remastered edition of this album with 3 bonus tracks. But we're gonna do the original album, which just has the 8 songs. So, number 8, Reckless Love. This is my least favorite song on the album because it sounds way too 80s, but I do love the 80s, so it just feels like the song was written for early Zeppelin for the 19-year-old Robert Plant to sing. And hearing 35-year-old Robert Plant talk about the things in the song, it feels off. And the lyrics kind of feel, even though they are being delivered from Robert Plant, they kind of feel like they were written as a Genesis song and like later Genesis, which I think is interesting because, as I mentioned before, Phil Collins is the drummer on the majority of this album, and this isn't actually one of those songs that he is drumming on. The drummer for some of the remaining 2 songs on the album that Phil Collins didn't appear on were Jethro Tull's drummer, Barrymore Barlow. Um, this song, I don't know, it doesn't it doesn't even fit the rest of the album in my opinion in terms of quality. This might be the first song in the 3 or 4 albums that I've done so far that I would just skip and not listen to. This song. Actually, this song and then the next song that I'm going to talk about were the 2 songs on this album that I hadn't listened to before, and so that's the reason it delayed this recording, um, my recording. I, I I was such a fan of the other 6 songs that hearing these songs just kind of fell a little flat to me. But that was Reckless Love. Number 7, Horizontal Departure. The instrumentals on this song are what make it for me. The first verse feels really showy, and like in terms of the vocals, like he stretched out the vocals a lot on this, and the vocal evocation of all the different noises he was making. The thought that naturally occurred to me listening to this song was, I bet this is where Axl Rose got his ideas to imitate. And some of you will come after me in the comments for me saying that, but just listen to the song. It it doesn't feel like Robert Plant. And if it does, it feels like young Robert Plant. So putting the whiny endings on basically every single word at the end of every line, it doesn't flow. The chorus and the song is nice, and the beautiful guitar interlude, which saves the second half of this song, because the first half, it's Plant just singing and whining, and I didn't like it. I mean, it's still 7th out of 8 songs for me on this list, but without that second half, with the guitar and the instrumental overplay, this would be last. I don't like this song. Uh, there's also another redeeming quality that I just thought of. Robert Plant's vocals return to what sounded like Led Zeppelin in the second half of this song. He kind of ditched the whiny vocals from the first half. So, even with that in mind, this is 7th out of 8 songs. Not the best song on the album. And I will say that I've only heard this album out of Robert Plant's solo albums, and I'm sure there's a few more. This is the second of his solo albums, so maybe I'll have to go back and do the first, which was called Pictures at 11. So just let me know in the comments if you want to hear my review of that. Number 6, Big Log. The intro to this song. Now, okay, I have to say before I go into this song, a lot of the things that I will compare songs to wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but I don't try to think about things. They just come to my mind naturally. So the intro to the song to me sounded like Genesis. And maybe I was tainted by the idea that Phil Collins was playing on this album while he was in Genesis and starting his solo career. But this intro sounds like I Can't Dance, but there's an interesting guitar riff over top that takes it in another direction. This song was the last song on the album in terms of position, not in terms of greatness. Um, and the tempo seems to be close enough to the intro to this album, Other Arms, and the outro to Big Log kind of seems like it could tie into the intro to Other Arms. So there might be some sort of cyclical nature to this album in a way, and I don't know if that was planned or not, and I don't know if I'm just overthinking that. So let me know what you guys think. Number 5 is Stranger Here Than Over There. This is the This is the second song on this album, second of two songs on this album not that did not feature Phil Collins on the drums. And for this song, the bass intro is definitely what hooked me. There's only a few notes, but I'm a fan of the bass in songs featured prominently. So when the song started out with the bass, I was interested. And the vocals in this song are just classic Robert Plant. He has a sound that I don't think anyone can come close to. And in light of recent years, I want you to keep all comments about Greta Van Fleet to yourself, please. Um, the song's lyrics seem to talk about a lost love or perhaps a one night stand, but they're just vague enough for me to be a non factor and just let the music play. Um, the song ends with an interesting instrumental that helps take away from the Zeppelin characteristics, which I feel is good because when you have, like I said earlier, when you have a voice that's so recognizable as one thing, like Robert Plant is to Led Zeppelin, you hear his voice, and it's all you can do to not think about Zeppelin. So moving away from the Zeppelin sound is a positive, in my opinion. Now we're getting into the top half of the album in terms of rankings. Number 4, In the Mood. This is the second single from the album, and it definitely shows why it was a single. It's a great song. The intro, it hooks you. There's a chord progression of the guitar, and the drums are just driving the song. Driving the intro. When Plant comes in, you'll find yourself singing along to the words, I'm in the mood for a melody, over and over and over every time after the first listen. The song's repetition gets broken up at the right time by a guitar interlude that was played excellently. And I have to say, this guitarist, whose name is Robert Blunt, which I thought is funny because the singer is Robert Plant. Weird coincidence, but it's still funny. This guitar player is awesome. This song, to me, it sounds like it was made to be a single. Like they were intentionally creating a popular song instead of just writing songs and then choosing a single. I can't say that for sure, but it sounds like it was played to be a single. And I have to say, even with my desire to be the hipster and find the overlooked gems on any album, this song is great. And we're getting into the top half of the album, so we're getting into the songs that I would never skip. Like as soon as they start playing, I'm in it for the rest of the song. Number 3, Messin' with the Mekon. After the spastic intro, and spastic is the only word I can think to describe this song, well, especially the intro. And if you don't believe me, go listen for yourself and tell me if I'm wrong. The song has some strong resemblances to Zeppelin's "All My Love," um, which, for those of you who don't know, it's reported that Robert Plant wrote the lyrics to this song, or to the song "All My Love," uh, for his son Carrack, who had passed away when he was, I believe, 5, due to a stomach infection. Uh, I I read that I'd heard about the death of Carrack Plant before, but I read that when I was searching up the song "All My Love" to tie it back to this album, and I just thought I would share that with you. One of my favorite Zeppelin songs, and Now, there's another reason. But back to the principle of moments. The song Messin' with the Mekon, it has some strong resemblances to All My Love in terms of the music during the verse and the vocal delivery. It has that flow. Uh, and I'm definitely not complaining. Anything that sounds like Prime Zeppelin, I'm into, you know? Number two, uh, I said this earlier, and I could seriously write it for six of these eight songs. This sounds like a Zeppelin B side in the best way possible. This is why people listen to Robert Plant. This is why I listen to Robert Plant, definitely. Uh, Also, again, another shout out to Robert Blunt, the guitarist. This is a killer solo. It's bluesy, it rocks, and the vocal delivery, the lyrical side of the song, it feels like it's playing on what Plant delivered in Going to California, which I believe was Led Zeppelin 1 or Led Zeppelin 2. Uh, you guys let me know in the comments. I want to say it was Led Zeppelin 1 or 2, but I could be wrong. Uh, just the soft melody, not giving into any of the operatic, bombastic, mid Zeppelin, like the physical graffiti or Houses of the Holy era Zeppelin. This is just prime singing Robert Plant, and it's a great song. I listened to the song again last night for preparation for this album review, and I might be putting this on my top 500. We'll have to see. And that's a perfect lead into the number one song on this album for me, which is definitely part of my top 500, Other Arms. This song is just perfect for my opinion, my tastes. It's Robert Plant, it's the 80s, and I have to say, without any visuals for this song, like no music video or anything, it kind of conjures up images in my own head of like early Zeppelin singing or playing this song, and it just seems weird to me to have 19-year-old Robert Plant singing this song. It's a very mature song, mature in terms of lyrics and content and just composition. And it doesn't feel like early Zeppelin at all, but you can hear the influences that his early singing career had on his later stuff, especially here. And it's a really awkward thing to hear, but it fits. Now, I said earlier that this song was not a single, and it was not a single off of the suggestion of Plant himself. Now, the reason he didn't want this as a single, I don't know. It's a fantastic song. It's probably the best song on the album. Uh, it's the top song on this particular album reaction video. The entire band, like including Plant and all the instrumentalists, are just perfect. This is the best song on this album. This could be a Zeppelin song. And I have to say, I'm gonna say something controversial. Just go with it. The drumming on this song is the most underrated part. No, it's not John Bonham, because at this point he had already been dead for a couple of years. But it serves the song in the best way. It probably is the best example of drumming on this album. And it's nothing big or bombastic or any of those things. It's just there. And it fits the music. And I say it feels like something Bonham would have done in his later years, just not wanting to thrash about the kit and just serve the song in a way that is understated and tight and technical. This entire song, it's like it's an order of magnitude above the rest of this album for me. I do like most of the songs on this album, and 4 of the 8 songs are going to be in my list of the top 500, or at least the preliminary list. But this song is just in a league of its own, and I have nothing else to say. This is a great album. Uh, so if you guys haven't actually heard the album, I definitely think you should check it out. It's on YouTube. Uh, it's a great album. Thank you guys for watching. The next album, which I haven't fully decided on what to do yet, the next album review will be coming out on Friday. And so today's Wednesday. In 2 days, the next album review will be coming out. So be on the lookout for that. And I'll see you guys later. Have a good day.